Okay, so let's go through the warm-up. Okay, remember that this is worth part of your test grade, so make sure that you have all the same work written down as me. Question 1, which function is equivalent to this? All right, all my answer choices are factored, so we're going to take our quadratic and we need to factor it. If we're going to factor, that means we're going to use the box. So build yourself a box, right? Now, before I can start filling it in, the first thing we should always look for is there a GCF? Right? And when I look at this, there is a GCF of 3. So before we get started on our box, we need to divide 3 out of each term. So that's going to leave us with 3. And then when we divide the 3 out, that's going to give us x squared. Negative 27 divided by 3, that's negative 9x. And 60 divided by 3, that is 20. All right, now that we've taken out our GCF, we can start filling out the box. Okay, x squared goes in the top left. 20 goes in the bottom right. To fill out the rest of the box, I know that this and this, I know that those two boxes combine to negative 9x. So I know I need two numbers that add to negative 9. Now, what two numbers do I use? Because a lot of numbers add to negative 9. The other rule that helps us narrow it down is the two numbers also need to multiply to give us a times c, which is 20. So two numbers that when I multiply, I get 20, and when I add, I get negative 9. So you got to think about that for a second. Two numbers that multiply to 20 and add to negative 9. Okay, the two numbers that follow those, meet those requirements are negative 4 and negative 5. They add to negative 9, multiply to 20. So let's fill in the other two pieces of our box with negative 4x and negative 5x. And then our answer is going to be the outside of the box. So if this is x squared, the only two things that we can have here and here are x and x. So we're going to put x and x. All right, I know that negative 5x is the product of these two blanks. So if this is x, this has to be negative 5. And if this is 20, I know that this is the product of negative 5 and this blank. So this blank has to be negative 4. And we are looking at our answer on the outside of the box. Okay, we have to make sure to remember to include our GCF, which is 3. So we have 3, x minus 4, x minus 5. So our answer choice is A. I'll give you just a moment to get any of that work copied down. You need to have everything on the page. Next question. All right, on this one, there's two different things that have to be done. All right, we have an exponent here. This is being raised to the second power, and then we're all supposed to multiply these two things. So the first thing we need to do is follow the product rule, which is to take this and raise it to the second power. So what we need to do is raise the big number to the given power. So negative 4 to the second power is 16. And then we're going to multiply our little numbers. So we have x to the first, y to the negative fifth. So 1 times 2 is going to give us x to the second. Y to the negative fifth times 2, that's going to give us y to the negative 10th. And then we'll bring this piece down. 2x squared y to the third. So that got rid of our power from the starting to here. We got rid of that squared symbol. Now we need to multiply these two monomials together. So we're going to multiply the big numbers and add the little numbers. So our big numbers are 16 and 2. So 16 times 2 is 32. And then we're going to add our little numbers. X to the second and x to the second is going to give us x to the fourth. Add the little numbers. Y to the negative 10th, y to the third is going to give us y to the negative 7th. All right, now this is almost the final answer, but our final answer cannot have a negative exponent. So we just need to rewrite this with y to the negative 7th. We are going to put it in the denominator and make it positive. So we're going to have 32x to the fourth, this piece on top. And then we're going to take y to the negative seventh and make it positive in our denominator. And that right there is our simplified exponential expression. Remember, there's only 1 or 2 exponential questions on the STAR test where you have to do laws of exponents. All right, 2 more questions. Next one. Adjust the camera here a little bit, and we can get the whole thing in frame. All right, graph the solution set for the given. The top one is not ready to graph. The bottom one is. I'm going to start by graphing the bottom equation. The it's not an equation, it's an inequality, okay? But we're going to graph this inequality. We need to begin with our y-intercept, which is negative 8. So we're going to go down to negative 8. Put that point on the graph. And then from our y-intercept of negative 8, we are going to move with a slope of 2, which is rise 2 and run 1. So from here, rise 2 and run 1. Rise 2 and run 1. Same process, several times. Okay. Now, our greater than or equal to symbol for this inequality tells us that we're going to use a solid line. Connected with a solid line. And the greater than symbol tells us that we are going to shade above. Now our other inequality, we're not as comfortable with solving it in standard form. So the first thing we're going to do with that top equation is the top inequality is we're going to solve it for y. So I'm going to rewrite my inequality. And then let's solve for y here. First step is to subtract 2x from both sides. It's going to cancel on the left. All right, so on the left we have minus 4y is greater than or equal to, and on the right side we have negative 2x plus 16. My only other step to solve for y is to divide both sides by negative 4. So divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4. Okay, on the left, that's going to leave us with y. When we divide both sides by a negative, our symbol is going to flip. And then let's finish out our equation. Negative 2 over negative 4 simplifies to 1/2 x. 16 divided by negative 4 is negative 4. So this is our other inequality. Let's take this and let's put it on our graph. Let's start with our y-intercept of negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm moving fast, make sure you're keeping up. And then we're going to move with a slope of 1/2. So rise 1 and run 2. So rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Putting a couple more points on there. Other direction, down 1 over 2. All right, so there is our other dots. Our symbol is the less than or equal to symbol. The equal to symbol tells us that we are going to connect it with a solid line. And the less than symbol tells us that we are going to shade below. So we're going to shade below here. All right, so there's our 2 inequalities on the graph. These solutions, the solution zone is where they are both shaded. And that area where we have shading for both inequalities is here in pink. That's where the blue and the purple shading overlaps. So that is our solution zone. Any ordered pair that falls in that pink part is a solution. All right, it's a part of the solution set. That's example 3. Last question. Solve. This is a system of inequalities. I'm going to go ahead and go straight into solving for y. We're going to solve each equation for y, and then we're going to look at the graph on the calculator, and that's going to tie us into our lesson today. We're going to look in the calculator and see where we intersect. So, follow along. Last question. Top equation. 10x plus 20y equals 5. Solve for x. Excuse me, solve for y. Subtract 10x. Subtract 10x. 20y equals negative 10x plus 5. And then we're going to divide both sides by 20. That's going to have us solved for y. So y equals negative 10 over 20 reduces to negative 1/2 x. 5 divided by 20 simplifies to 1/4 or 0.25. I'm going to put 0.25. 1/4, 0.25, same thing. Looks different, means the same. So that's this first equation. Okay. Now let's take the other one and solve it for y. 6x plus 12y equals 3. Solve for x. Subtract 6 from both sides. Subtract 6x. That cancels. 12y equals negative 6x plus 3. Divide everything by 12. And now we are going to be solved for y. 12y divided by 12 is y. Negative 6 divided by 12 simplifies to negative 1/2 x. And 3 divided by 12, okay, that simplifies to 1/4 or 0.25. Okay, so let's take our two equations here and type them into the calculator. Negative 1 divided by 2, x plus 0.25. Negative 1 divided by 2, x plus 0.25. Hopefully at this point you've noticed that these are the same equation. Hopefully you have made that connection. Okay, so when I go look at the graph, there's the first line, and then I notice that the second line in red traces right on top of it. If the solution to a system is where these lines intersect, and they intersect the whole time, that means there are infinite solutions, because these two lines have infinite intersections. So the answer to this system is infinite solutions, because they intersect all of the time. They're the same line. Right? Make sure you have all of that work on there, and that is the warm-up for today.